Será que eles são obrigados a jogar com o controle no fio? Eu acho que é mais seguro, né, cara?
Yeah, and at least having something like that Iron Hand, you can try and
O que você tem contra fio, seu Haru?
because the Palafin, when it's been going off, it has been popping off for Wolf. So you want to make sure that's fine. But here it is, game 1 here in the grand finals of Orlando Pokémon Regional.
Cachorro e peixe em campo contra mãos e douradinho. Nice.
Yes, the Arcanine really nicely positioned here. You do get it in front of the Iron Hand, so it is going to be able to drop the attack stat of that Pokemon. You still have access to Fake Out here, though, so Ashton should be able to shut down a turn coming in from Wolf's side. But, you know, does the Palafin stay?
Eu não sei porquê, mas achei o Arcanine tão bonito nesse jogo, cara. É um dos poucos Pokémons que você olha e tipo, rapaz, ficou bonito, cara. Poderia ter sido mais bonito, poderia, mas tipo, a gente tá falando da Pokémon Company. Da Game Freak, quer dizer. É uma empresa que não tem muita condição de financeiro. Rapaz, resistiu, hein?
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty amount of damage for this Amoonguss to take. If Wolf wants to be able to keep it alive, just knowing how much
Parece que acabou de vir de Pet
slot,
Shop, exatamente.
you're gonna really want to be able to switch it out and get that Regenerator healing online. And Ashton, it can feel pretty safe to go ahead and target that down. Either you're gonna end up hitting maybe a Palafin that switches in, or you end up
tem que entender que é uma empresa indie, exatamente, cara.
But if the Amoonguss protects, then you're trying to cover for those options as well, as we see a Terra come through.
Yeah, we already touched upon the Terra options on Wolf Ends and how things are pretty deliberate. And when you see a Grass Terra type on any Pokemon,
as mãos têm uma florzinha na cabeça agora,
you know the purpose of it going up against the Amoonguss. It feels bad a little bit when there is that Arcanine on the other end of the field.
E Rip Golden Go.
Doesn't appreciate the hit nonetheless.
Ele faleceu, mas passa bem.
Yeah, big KO there. Golden Go definitely taking that for super effective damage. Arcanine takes a lot of recoil from that though, so this close combat into the Arcanine will be enough
foi
to
embora
get the
também.
knockout. And so Iron Hands feeling a little bit vulnerable here when you do have those defense and special defense drops, and a free switch for Wolf here into the Palafin in the back or whatever else, but that Grass Terra really good here.
Yeah, whether it was going to be a Rage Powder to make sure that the Arcanine...
Ok, não vai ter Dondoso essa partida, porque será? Será porque o cara tá usando Parry Song e você não vai poder usar Dondoso e o Full? Mas e se ele vencer de qualquer maneira? Aí vai ser triste.
And now looking at what to bring in. No Dondozo, but is bringing the individual.
Foi boa a troca. Pro Wolf Glick eu diria que sim, mas pode ser que não. Mas eu colocaria no talvez, ou no quem sabe. Eu só sei que a equipe do Wolf Glick não tem muito dano pra passar a equipe do Ashton. O Ashton tá com 3 concorrentes de água. Holy cow. E eu falei resistente ao invés de resistente, muito bom.
As of right now, you're really hoping that this.
Eu acho que o Figlick vai mamar aqui, hein?
But it's Amoonguss switch out here, and so now we get a chance to see what that 4th and final is going to be.
It will be the Scream Tail, so it does have something that has the Perish Song option. We've seen the disable in terms of what it's actually doing offensively.
Ah, não, ela tem Photosynthesis Disable. Ok, talvez a esperança ainda. Tá seguindo a Mega Papel? Sim, mas ela resiste 4 vezes, cara, golpe de fogo. Roku VG valeu pelos 20 meses. Boa read do Sr. Wolf Glick. Essa Screentale vai ser pogas essa partida, hein? Tá chegando a Cry Quiris, aí sim.
This is a perfect opportunity if the Screamtail wants to go for something like the disable. You could do that into
a Screamtail vai ter Play Rough contra Iron Hands, não, contra Tatsugiri, contra Rorimun e é da Disable. Só que o Palafin tá meio best nessa partida. Basicamente o Wolf tá com um Pokémon contra 3, porque até o Among Us tá best nessa partida. Tanto é que ele vai sacar o Among Us aqui. Vai sacar entre aspas, né, que eu não creio que o Ashton vai dar Draco, né? Ou talvez Z. Vamos ver. Ok, faltou dano. Faltou mira. Faltou dano e faltou mira.
Oh, that's such a rough miss there. I mean, that would be able to at least help out with the Amoonguss a little bit, but not in this case. You're really now just trying to deal with the damage that you can, and I mean, this Amoonguss is just so nicely positioned. You could bring the Palafin back in if you
Provavelmente vai vir Play Rolf e Pollen Puff, né? Eu diria que é ótimo
on
por ele.
Ashton's side of the field right now. Yes, the Iron Hands is going to avoid the Spore, it's going to avoid the Rage Powder here, but
Screentail virou um dos meus Pokémon favoritos. Ih, rapaz.
No, the Screentail is definitely looking to be in a really nice spot. And at this point, too,
Play Rolf e Pollen Puff, né? Não precisa ser um gênio pra saber que ele vai fazer isso. E literalmente isso aqui vence a partida, porque o Mundo pode dar terraço. É, você causou dano. Que dano! Pera aí, deu Pollen Puff no... What? Eu discordo disso. Não concordo disso.
Okay. We're seeing the Roaring Moon as the fourth and final Pokemon here for Ashton, and so yes, this Screamtail has been.
Why enfraqueceu Iron Hands?
Pretty speedy, but also not so much.
Eu discordo demais desse play.
First multiple times here, but it's down to the final two Pokemon, and so this is kind of do or die here for Ashton. Is the Roaring Moon going to be
Isso talvez puxe o Wolfglick.
Help out the Iron Hands? Maybe you want to be able to.
Porque a Screentail é tão grande.
But then also, just you gotta get it out of the way.
Você se incomodou com o tamanho, cara?
Pokemon to remove when you don't want your.
Só que esse Uroibu tá tampando boa parte da tela, filho.
Not going to be able to save itself.
And the weird thing is there is now 2 Pokemon left for Ashton, so you have to be so worried about any threat of.
O Uroibu ocupando a tela toda como se ele fosse a última bolacha do pacote, cara. Que isso, né?
Pretty well, but no, we're going for pure aggression at this point. Play rough is going to be enough for this one-hit KO onto the Roaring.
Fala vindo um clap pro Uroibu. O Uroibu resiste à água, cara.
Grass, Iron Hand, Wild Charge into the Palafin, even being a
Rapaz, isso aqui foi super efetivo, velho.
Iron Hands is just not doing enough damage to anything at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, Roaring Moon is not necessarily one.
Eu sinto que a equipe do Ashton Koch esqueceu de causar dano, hein? Olha o terraço por no reason. Mas tem porque não dá também, né? Você tá aí, tem que dar mesmo. Aranha tem ataques, daí parece que tem mesmo. Pra ser sincero, ele tá intimidado, né? Então, tipo, come on.
This will end in 3 turns, but Wave Crash from the speedy Palafin hitting into the Iron Hands is going to do so much
Resistiu.
damage, and that is going to be Wolfglick here winning Game 1.
Game 1 and honestly,
eu amei como que se o Ashton perde o Golden Goal, a Screentail simplesmente ganha a partida, cara. Golden Goal caiu turno 1, a Screentail entrou em campo e falou, e aí? E venceu.
How does Ashton adjust to this? It doesn't feel particularly safe to bring in the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri combo.
Lembrei do meme do Didi, cara. No céu tempão e morreu.
Impactful in that match, regardless of the tricks it had up its sleeve.
I feel like
Fala do Palafin, LJ. Mano, quem venceu a partida foi o Screentail, cara. Você tá ligado disso?
There's the one turn on multiple Pokemon that probably just want to make their way to the matchup anyways. So you can't even hope that your opponent doesn't want to play that way. So it is tough, but here it is. Time to hop into game.
E rapaz, chegou o bicho, gente.
Next to the Golden Go on Ashton's end. Arcanine and Palafin
chegou a coisa mais irritante de todos os tempos.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that the Arcanine here on Wolf's side could really go for. You'd already gotten Intimidate drop onto the Dondozo, but honestly, you're really looking at maybe being able to just kind of get some damage down onto the Golden Go. That Flare Blitz was plenty to be able to pick up the knockout.
Eu entendi o lead matchup do Ashton Koch. Ele tá tentando baitar o Arcanine de não bater no Golden Go. Porque se o Arcanine bater no Golden Go e a Tatsugiri entrar, ele perde um turno à toa. E pode perder o Arcanine. Eu entendi a malandragem aqui. Ou esse Wolf vai ler ou se ele vai jogar safe. Ok, o Wolf jogou safe.
Wolf has protected a lot during the tournament just to scout things out to make sure things are going to be safe, and that's going to be no exception for this time.
O problema é que ele perdeu um turno e deu free substitute pro Golden Go, né? Pro Golden Go não, pro bicho gordo aqui, pro peixe.
And the Golden Go will do nothing, but this does leave the way for a free substitute.
Yeah, so Dondozo just going to go ahead and start setting up here. The Golden Go has locked itself into the Shadow Ball for now, but can switch out to be able to reset the choice specs that it has for some super effective damage later. And Dondozo already putting a bunch of pressure onto the Arcanine here, as Wolf is going to start things
Wolf
off.
ganhou a última como.
And that'll be this
Ganhando,
Screentail making its way onto the field as the Palafin goes 0 to hero.
A Screentail entrou em campo e clicou o botão e venceu.
And the Screentail is what makes this matchup tricky. It's definitely not the Paradox that I thought would be making this type of tournament.
Cara, se ele voltar, se voltar, Golden Go são de VGC, eu acho que não, cara.
But it's so good in this position.
It really is, and so you're going to see a switch here from Ashton as well. You have the Dondozo that's safe behind the substitute, but the Iron Hands is also going to be making an appearance. But a little bit of a switch up here from Wolf. He's going to go ahead and Terra Water this Arcanine.
Olha a cara de Wawa, chat.
Yeah, making
Wawa
sure
Arcanine.
this is where the defensive Terra types come in, because all of a sudden you're looking across the field. It's something like the Dondozo. You want to make sure that you're not going to be taking too much damage from it. Iron Hand's going to take a tunk from the Flare Blitz from the Arcanine, and the Wave Crash coming out from the Dondozo, hitting into the Arcanine slot. Look at how little damage that does now because of the Water Terra type.
Yeah, the resist there is absolutely critical, and honestly, I don't know if there's another better option here. Palafin was going to be able to do a lot of damage in the end game as well, but it does leave Arcanine a little bit vulnerable to the Iron Hands that's on the field, unless Wolf feels like he has a great way to be able to deal with the Iron Hands for now. So it will be a switch out here of the Arcanine in favor of the Amoonguss, which makes those electric type attacks way better.
Yeah, Amoonguss definitely eats those types of hits for breakfast. But feeling good about the Perish Song situation, Screentail is going to go and set that up instantly, though a Volt Switch.
Sabe o mais engraçado desse turno? É que se o Ashton Coach entrar com a Tatsugiri, a Tatsugiri não morre com o Perish Song. Aliás, não morre de qualquer maneira que usa o Perish Song de Tatsugiri entrar, mas vocês entenderam. Ou talvez não entenderam, porque eu não expliquei nada. E eu provavelmente não vou explicar nada também.
Try to remove it from the field, but I mean, with the Golden Go on the field too, you're trying to figure out a way to deal with the Screentail, or maybe even force out a switch here. But here are the Perish counters.
Yep, so importantly on Ashton's end, the Dondozo needs to find this chance to be swapping and getting rid of that. Wolf has a couple of turns to play around with, can really just be a thorn on the side, but the thing is there is nothing that is locking anything on Ashton's side in place. But it does force a pivot at some point, which means there's going to be a slot that's not doing anything, and you can make reads or just hits into that to make sure whatever comes in place is going to be coming in on a really bad note.
O Wolf Green só vai dar dano pra até esse turno. Eu acho que o Ashton Coach tem que trocar. Ele tá pensando em não trocar, eu acho que ele tem que trocar. Não tem porque ele não trocar.
Try to get some damage off. If the double protect comes through, am I going to be in a bad position? Going to preserve the Dondozo for later and bring the Tatsugiri in. And this is why this matchup is a little bit tough positionally. You don't want the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri to be stuck in here together if the Screentail decides to go for another Perish Song.
And it will be a protect, not a double this time around, as Amoonguss.
A Mundo não protegeu. Se o Wolf Green que deu spawn no slot do Dondozo pra indicar do troca, foi a play do ano, cara. Meu amigo, cara. Que maravilha, xadrez. Que play foi essa, velho. E agora é free disable no Golden Go, mas o Wolf Green que pode predicar isso caso queira. É free switch do Among se eu conseguir Regenerator. Rapaz, que play foi essa, velho.
And Ashton still has plenty of Pokémon healthy to be able to go for some attacks here. You did see the Screentail.
Pera aí, ele vai dar Terasta ou sendo que... Ah, aliás, você não pode levar Disable, eu esqueci. Golden Go é imune a Disable. Eu sou idiota, chat. Eu peço perdão pela minha estupidez. Por isso que ele é o campeão mundial e eu não sou.
And it will be the swap out to make sure that it is preserved for later as Palafin makes its way back in. That's the scary thing, because the pivot, you're just bringing in a really strong Pokemon that can start trying to be going for those KOs and dealing that damage out. Tatsugiri not really doing much on the field whatsoever as Sleep is swapping out, and Iron Hand making its appearance back out.
Yeah, protect here from the Amoonguss, just kind of playing things safe and feeling it out, but I mean, Ashton at this point can use the Make It Rain, and Palafin...
Esse meta mostra que ele é completamente diferente do meta de Galar, né? O meta de Galar era tipo, o Gigantamax a partida acabava em 5, 6 turnos. Olha como esse meta é mais demorado, cara. O que é bom ou ruim, né? Dependendo do seu gosto, tá ligado? A gente vai falar que é bom, a gente vai falar que é ruim.
And like another kind of key choice.
Essa ainda vai ser o melhor de 3? Sim, cara. Se o Ashton Kosh vencer, vai ter o terceiro jogo.
Try to switch it out. Are you feeling safe about bringing Tatsugiri or Dondozo in the face of this Palafin and Amoonguss? At least we're going to see a switch here. Amoonguss just not want to stay in, get that regenerator healing back.
And bring the Arcanine out, bringing out the
Cachorro,
Intimidate
chat.
to drop the attack stat on the Iron Hands. And
Vai dar na Max é chato.
there's a good amount of hits.
E opa, muito
I'm looking
hate.
specifically to make a rain, not going to do anything there. Wave
Rip
crash
mãos.
into
Eu
the
acho
Iron
que
Hands.
isso garante a
That
vitória
is
do
going to be
Wolfglick.
a
A não ser que o
nail
Ashton
on
Kosh dê um
both
crit nesse
ends of
turno.
things. And looking
Mas
to
será que ele tem a
there's
Technique?
good chunk of recoil onto the Palafin, but this Make It Rain does
Ele não tem a
so
Technique.
little damage.
Yeah, and the choices for Ashton are starting to whittle down.
Eu acho que aqui é GG, chat.
Screamtail on Wolf's side, just still kind of silently waiting in the back. So if Ashton ends up in a position where the Dondozo and the Tatsugiri
Aliás,
Wolf can switch back in the Screamtail.
tem jogo ainda, né, que ele vai
Has
comer a
another Pokémon
Tatsugiri.
available,
A Tatsugiri
and
será
just go
comida,
ahead and
chat.
go for that Perish Song, but this Golden Go at
É,
this
tem
point
jogo
isn't
ainda.
doing very much damage. So you're kind of considering, like, is this going to be the perfect time to switch it out and just go ahead and get this Dondozo up and running?
With potentially running out of options, going for a big Earthquake, taking this double KO and seeing and hoping that you can be doing enough next time around could just be the play. The Arcanine, though, swapping out, that's not going to be falling in wave of anything else, and it'll be the Amoonguss coming back out. There's been so many
O fato do Ashton não ter dado substituto nesse turno é muito bom pro Wolfglick. Que ele vai poder sacar o Arcanine pra dar Intimidate depois da Parry Song. Isso aqui foi muito bom pro Wolfglick.
Yeah, it's okay if it's asleep. It'll still do its job to help out that Dondozo. And at this point, too, now you're stuck. If you're Ashton, you've got the Dondozo, you've got the Tatsugiri on the field. You're not able to switch here. Palafin is going for Protect. Fishing for what's happening.
Ela acorda
here
sobre
from
comida?
this
Não,
Dondozo.
cara.
Yeah, so it's
Soa muito sério essa pergunta, mas não acorda.
Porque
não tem como atacar com ela, tá ligado? Então você não gasta turno com ela.
By itself is not going to be enough, but it does deal a really good amount of damage, and it goes down to the fact too that the Amoonguss with the Rage Powder, it can't redirect a move that hits everything on the field.
Essa Tatsugiri buff aqui é defesa, mas ele não tem o Adera. A Arcanine vai entrar aqui pra dar Intimidate. Ele tô com Screamtail. Ah, ok, ele pode entrar com a Arcanine em seguida. Ok, faz sentido que ele salva Amoonguss também. Mas eu acho isso meio perigoso porque... Vai que o Screamtail morre aqui, né? Vai que o Screamtail leva um crítico. É, tirou muito dano. Eu acho que o Wolfglick chocou, hein?
It's a bulky Pokemon, and that's kind of why Wolf is okay sacrificing the Arcanine here. You're really there to be able to preserve the Screamtail, and unfortunately...
A não ser que o Screamtail não caia pra Earthquake. Porque não faz sentido ele dar Wave Crash, que ele só vai dar Rage Powder aqui.
Kind of identifying, okay, should I go for maybe a bit more damage there when I do have the Wave Crash? It would be able to get the stab, or do I try to go for the spread damage here with the Earthquake, knowing how little it was doing in that last turn thanks to those Intimidate drops.
And that's what's so scary, because all of a sudden you don't want to have this.
Ok, ele vai predicar que não vai ter... Ok, ele predicou,
away,
certo.
but regardless, just the fact that the Screamtail is so fast will be moving first and will set the Perish Song. So the Dondozo, regardless of what it goes for, is on a timer. Wave Crash freely into the Screamtail after the fact, though, will pick up a KO. So if you
Ele predicou certo.
enough in the couple of turns, it could be an okay situation, especially with one Pokemon still in the back.
Look at that. Amoonguss was trying to go for the Pollen Puff there onto the Screamtail to try to keep it alive a little bit more, but yeah, Amoonguss is on that timer too. So we can see the Palafin come back out and try to do some damage, but it's already very
É, o
low.
Wolf perdeu essa partida.
Dondozo is still putting in a ton of work, so it's going to be a quick
O Wolf precisa
protect here just to
de
try to
triple
stall
protect,
out
não tem como ele
these
vencer.
remaining turns of this Perish Song. Amoonguss going for the protect too.
Limit the amount of damage that
Ele não
the
tem aquele
Dondozo
smog,
has
não.
access to, considering it just has so little time left. So this turn, it's not going to be able to do anything. Next turn, we'll have to see just what mileage Earthquake.
Porque não deu Rage Powder mais Disable, porque ele ficou com medo de Earthquake.
Rest of what's on Wolf's side, well, then
Só
that's
que o
gonna be
Ashton
your
Kosh
win
leu
cost
isso e
for
acabou
losing the
ganhando
final
esse
two
turno.
Pokemon.
E provavelmente a partida também, que eu acho que vai ficar que
Unfortunately,
mata.
Palafin's not going to be dealing with the timer. Neither's Tatsugiri, because it was invulnerable hopping into the Dondozo's mouth, so it actually didn't hear the song. Funny enough, Dondozo was enough to be able to keep that safe. So even if Wolf at this point is actually going to be able to get through this Dondozo or outlast it to be able
Ok,
to
o Wolf foi
head
outplayado
on,
duas
we
vezes,
still have
cara.
the Tatsugiri that has the choice scarf available, as well as the Golden Go that has the choice specs, and Mugus isn't going to be able to do too much that unless it wants to go for those attacking moves. So really just the Amoonguss here for Wolf, and
Rip
it's got
Wolf.
the parish count to 1 here, as we're going to be looking at a
Mas
game
como eu
where
falei, essa partida roda em cima do Golden Go, tá ligado? O Wolf precisa urgente se livrar do Golden Go vai ser essa partida, porque a Surpreendeu basicamente o alê a tudo. Mas ele não precisa se livrar do Golden Go, turno.
So to end things off, it is going to be the score. Regardless at the end of this, both of these Pokemon are going to bed in a different sense, but hey, the Chesaberry, at least you can see that go off.
Parry Song não mata a Tatsugiri, né? Eu acho que a Tatsugiri fica imune a Parry Song.
Yeah, just to be able to prepare for next time, but Amoonguss knocks
É meio estúpido isso, a Tatsugiri ficar imune a Parry Song.
Either. So, game number 3, let's go.
I am
Pra Tatsugiri morrer no Parry Song, ela tem que ser afetada por Parry Song antes de ser comida. Se ela tivesse sido comida, ela não é afetada. Meio estúpido isso.
Because I was so worried about a Dondozo being stuck on the field with Perish Song, but had Wolf had more Pokemon, then it could have been a little bit of a different situation, since you could try and
Como ela vai escutar dentro da baleia?
but then you have to give kudos to the fact that
Via
Ashley
Bluetooth,
did still,
né?
in fact, have that Golden Go in the back. So
É muito difícil ver uma música de uma baleia, você já tentou, cara? Péssimo acústico dentro do boss.
Yeah, I mean,
Melhor de
even
três,
just with the
ô,
Tatsugiri with the icy wind,
A
and
boca
then,
do Dose
the
em isolamento acústico.
Golden Go
Ok, vocês
having
deram
all
bons
that
argumentos pra Parry
damage,
Song não
it's gonna be really
funcionar.
tough, and so Wolf just kind of trying to figure out some way to
Tá, sei que
stall
Dodose não é
for
baleia,
enough
cara. Dodose é
time to
peixe.
think about how he wants to go in to play a huge role there. That is for sure, but it's going to be a bit of a switch up here. Wolf actually going to bring in the Gothitelle for the first time in the series.
Both players have been pivoting so much, and that Gothitelle with that Shadow Tag is going to make it so nothing on Ashton's end can be swapping out here, at least on its own.
Ok, Dodose é um
Iron Man does
catfish,
have the ability
nice.
to be going for a Volt Switch if it wants, so it does have that option later on. But at the same time,
Bom, se o Wolf Glick conseguir matar essa Tatsugiri as soon as possible, ele vence a partida, só que o Iron Hands pode dar Volt Switch e salvar a Tatsugiri. Só que a Surpreendeu pode dar Parry Song e falar, não filho, você vai morrer.
Hey, I mean, we've seen Wolf go for these aggressive early turn pair songs and just how impactful they can be. So bringing that in, you now have to be worried about that. The fake out onto the Gothitelle is just going to be a little bit of chip. Make sure it doesn't do anything, and Muddy Water does not do...
Rapaz, Muddy Water não dropou a cura, esse cara, que muita gente vive.
So now you're looking at a position where the Muddy Water is going to continue to at least get some damage down, and the Tatsugiri too. Just going with that Choice Scarf will be locked into it for the time being, but Iron Hands still might be able to position out, and it's kind of up to Ashton whether or not he feels like, you know, getting the damage down and the Volt Switch is going to be enough in case the Screamtail does end up going for something like the Perish Song. But it's just a play rough here. Nice call just to
Ok, se Psyche acertar, Rip Tatsugiri. Mas Muddy Water vai dar drop na Gothitelle, quer ver?
The Tatsugiri fires off another round of Muddy Water. Accuracy drop onto the Gothitelle at this point, but doing also enough damage that it will get a little bit of health recovery thanks to that Citrus Berry. Now the Volt Switch on to the Screamtail. Little damage, but the important part is going to be a pivot on Ashton.
O cara é muito bom, melhor de todos os tempos, né?
Can bring in that Dondozo if he
Ele tem que entrar com o Dondozo. Ele é forçado, senão ele perde a Tatsugiri pra sempre.
Yeah, Tatsugiri has definitely done its job at this point, being able to put some
Freak
pressure down.
Dondozo,
The only
mate.
thing that I feel like Ashton needs to be a little worried about at this point is that he's locked in here, and this Gothitelle does have access to Heal Pulse, so it could help keep this Screamtail a little bit more healthy, going for something like the Perish Song and then getting a quick pivot out, but that Dondozo putting on some pressure here.
Tá achando que o Wolf Glick foi mamãe, cara.
Damage onto both the Screamtail and the Gothitelle.
And every turn that this Gothitelle is heal pulsing, it's not protecting. So with the spread move like this Earthquake, Ashen can at least be putting on this constant
Ela vai dar heal pulse no amigo?
so
Sim, mas ela não vai tancar essa hit.
Dodosa
é mais rápido.
But Gothitelle instead swapping out, releasing Shadow Tag, not that it would matter quite in this case, and bringing the Amoonguss in.
Yeah, so Amoonguss, it's been a move that we've seen from...
Se a Surpreendeu tancar essa hit, eu acho que o Wolf Greek vence, mas eu não creio que ela tanque esse Earthquake. É muito damage.
The Earthquake as well, yeah, Amoonguss is going to soak that up, no problem. You see the double protect come through on the next turn, but the critical hit is a knockout here.
Critical hit? Onde teve crítica? Rapaz, a Necra tá chapada, velho. Onde ela viu o crítico, chat? Gothitelle entrando dando fake out e a Canal entrando em seguida é o play, não? Fake out e intimidate? É, ok. Foi crit? Eu não vi o crit. Rapaz, eu tô mal do sol então, chat. Eu não vi o crit, sério mesmo.
You have some borrowed time.
Então.
Should be able to get knocked out due to the Para song.
Eu acho que eu dormi sem querer na hora do crítico. Eu acho que eu fechei o olho assim muito bem na hora, tá ligado?
And now the Dondozo will be a little bit limited in the damage, but still being able to do a good amount. Any damage though that it's trying to do will have to be for next turn because
eu não sei se o crítico importou, cara. Mas sei lá, posso ser enganado.
Buying some time here. 2 more turns. You couldn't go for the Earthquake here. If you are the Dondozo, Wolf could just go for another switch here as the Amoonguss is going to have its parish count reset as well. That would take the Earthquake a little bit better, and it preserves your Arcanine for later to deal with something like the Iron Hands and maybe even the Golden Go that would be.
Era um Earthquake mais 2, chat. Não, a Surpreendeu tava meio de 50%, cara. Eu acho que ela tava 40%. Terra água, troca Amoonguss. Eu acho que trocar pra Amoonguss é melhor, cara. Trocar pra Amoonguss da Rage Powder, da Heal Pulse, ou trocar pra Amoonguss da Protect. Da Terraça no Arcanine, eu acho que é muito cedo ainda. Porque ainda tem Iron Hands atrás. Protege a Arcanine e troca que o Amoonguss também é um bom play.
Arcanine is not going to be on the wrong end of an Earthquake this time around, and we've already seen what this does to Amoonguss.
Yeah, it's not going to be doing too much here. Even if
imagina levar outro crítico, cara.
You're pretty comfortable being able to take that as well, and so hard to find out just how much that does. It's not too much, but you're able to stall out here. You can switch back in the Gothitelle if you want to. Amoonguss could go for a protect or kind of however else, but you're really trying to look at cleaning up this Tatsugiri once it comes back out of the Dondozo.
Yeah, you want to make sure, we talked about it before, that when you get rid of the Dondozo, that there's the Tatsugiri is not going to be left out of control, because that's definitely a Pokemon that has some viability to it. The Choice Scarves, it goes fast, it can hit some decent enough damage, so you can't let that be in a position, especially.
É aproveitar, tem jogo ainda, cara. O Wolf Greek perdeu outra predict, entretanto. Ele predicou o Wave Crash. O Ashton Costa lendo o Wolf Greek como um livro também, cara. Mesmo tanto com um arquétipo super câncer, o Ashton Costa pelo menos outplayando bonito.
Able to hit the Arcanine for super effective damage, and so that's a really nice defensive Terra here from Arcanine to be able to withstand that. And just like that, Dondozo's getting knocked out here thanks to the Parasol.
Se fake out garantir o KO na Tatsugiri, eu acho que o Wolf vence ainda, não?
Two very strong Pokemon on Ashen's end.
O Ashton tem que entrar com Iron Hands, não pode entrar com Golden Go. Aliás, ele só entra com Iron Hands da Fake Out e impede o Fake Out da Gothitelle, né? Eu acho que a caralho do Wolf não tem isso no Speed. Então, ele vai... What? What? Ele não pode estar com o Golden Go. O que ele tá pensando? Ele não pode estar com o Golden Go. Se ele tá com o Golden Go, ele leva Fake Out e Flare Blitz. Porque Flare Blitz é garantido do KO, a gente já viu isso no primeiro jogo. Eu não sei o que ele pensou tanto assim, ele não pode entrar com o Golden Go. Eu não entendi o que ele pensou tanto. A não ser que a Tatsugiri seja Terraça ou Ghost, eu não tô sentindo isso.
Yeah, it's so important, especially at this point in the battle. You just touch on it. These targets are so pivotal. You're looking at that end game. What you need to be.
As mãos são mais rápidas que a gótica, se eu não me engano, sim.
difference maker of regional champion or regional finalist at this point. It's so down to the wire with these two players. The fake out.
Se eu não me engano, não.
Gonna ensure nothing.
Ah, ele tem isso no speed, ok, então GG, acabou a partida. Ele tinha speed.
It's down to 2 for Ashton.
Eu achei que a cara não tinha, então acabou o jogo. Porque o Godego não tem Protect, Flyer Blitz é onde hit KO. E eu acho que o Iron Hands não aguenta a Munga junto com o Gottitele. Talvez aguente, mas ele é forçado a matar o Arcanine, que ele não pode matar o Gottitele.
Despite the fact that it is carrying Assault Vest, it's in front of the Arcanine that is going to be able to dish out physical damage. Super effective, whether or not this Iron Hands is going to terrestrialize or not.
At this point in the battle, to the Golden Go. Choice specs, once you're locked in, you are locked. So that move choice is so important.
Eu acho que vai entrar com a Munga, se a Protect, sacar Gottitele. Não, isso vai dar Flare Blitz direto. O que é um bom play de fato, que parando pra pensar, ele entra com a Gottitele, dá fake out, Polypuff, cura a Gottitele e fica 2x1. Esse play é mais óptimo. Eu achei que o play melhor fosse só bater com Flare Blitz e Psychic, mas esse play é melhor de fato. Porque agora você ganha um free turno pra curar a Gottitele. Essa foi um bom play. Essa partida foi boa, cara. Eu só não entendi a decisão do Ashton de ficar pensando se entrava com o Godego ou se entrava com o Iron Hands, tipo... Ele não tinha plays, ele tinha que entrar com o Godego, com o Iron Hands. O Godego era garantido um luz pra ele. É, Polypuff e... Polypuff fake out. Exato. A Canine é ruim em metagame que existe Cineror, cara. Isso é questionável. Falar que eu falei que a Canine é ruim sendo que eu fui campeão do Brasil Opto 2017 usando a Canine é ser meio pepega, cara. Sendo que a Canine foi vice-campeão mundial 2017, é ser meio pepega. Vice-campeão não, campeão na verdade.
The Gothitelle gonna stay safe. It got healed up last turn and is gonna be safe behind to protect this time around as the Wild Charge is not gonna be doing anything, hitting into that protect. Now the Amoonguss, there's the opportunity to be going for something like the Pollen Puff, but instead the Spore, there was no Terrestrial.
Eu não sei porque o Wolf insiste em tentar dar Spore, cara, tipo... Só causava Polypuff.
Alright, so Wild Charge here, it's gonna do some decent damage into the Gothitelle, but it's also gonna be dropping the attack, the defense and the special defense. You got the Psychic here too, just kind of trying to get as much chip in as possible. But the Pollen Puff here, super effective damage.
It's so much, it's not quite enough in this case, but when the move that you...
O que a Canine tem de bom, resumindo, a Canine é um suporte que tem pressão ofensiva. Ele é rápido, ele tanca bem a Cities, ele não tem muita fraqueza. Já que ele é fraco contra água, pedra e terra, e atualmente pedra nem tá sendo tão relevante nesse formato. E terra também não, se for pensar, que não tá tendo muito gachão com o Great Fest, então basicamente ele só é fraco contra água. Ele tem Intimidate, controle de dano, ele tanca bem, que eu já falei, ele é decentemente rápido, tem Snore e o Will-O-Wisp, bate forte também, tem prioridade. Ele é um Pokémon multiuso, basicamente, tá ligado? Resiste a Steel, que é bom contra Gondego. Ele é tipo um Incineror, só que menos bom, tá ligado? Resumindo, ele é um Incineror piorado.